Hi there. Have you decided on your L1 and L2 yet? Or are you still unsure, wondering if your weaker subject might hold you back? If you've missed my first video in this series where I talk about choosing L1 and L2 strategically, then I suggest that you pause this video and check that out first. Trust me, it could change your approach to the CTET language section entirely. But in case you are here to dive deeper into understanding the structure of the CTET language paper, then stay tuned. This video will not only cover the basics but also give you strategies which will set you up for success. Hi, I'm Dr. Swasti Dhar and I mentor teachers and trainee teachers to crack the CTET in their first attempt through self-paced courses. This video is part 2 of my 5-part video series on Crack the CTET language section. Each video is designed to help you to crack the CTET language section with maximum clarity and minimum of effort. Let's get started. CTET expects all teachers to be proficient in 2 languages, 2 from the 22 scheduled languages that we have in India. So you have to be equally proficient in both L1 and L2, and for most Indians that is the case. Most of us know 3 to 4 languages and we are usually proficient in 2 because in schools we would have learned 3 languages minimum. So being proficient in 2 languages is kind of a given for all Indians, especially for a teacher. Each language section is divided into 30 questions of 1 mark each, and like all other CTET questions, there is no negative mark, so you should always attempt each and every question. Now, these 30 questions is broken down into 15 marks of comprehension, which for L1 will include an unseen passage and an unseen poetry, whereas for L2 it is 2 unseen passages. So that's the only difference between the comprehension part of L1 and L2. In L1 you have a prose and a poetry, whereas in L2 it is always 2 prose. Now the other 15 marks is on pedagogy, but this is pedagogy of language development, and the pedagogy focuses on language teaching, strategies, approaches and methods, and it is the same for both L1 and L2. So the pedagogy of language remains the same whether you're studying for English, Hindi or any other language. In the question paper, questions 91 to 120 belong to L1 and 121 to 150 belong to L2. Now let's address some common doubts. Is L1 tougher than L2? No, they are equally challenging. The structure and the syllabus is exactly the same, but your experience with both the languages may vary depending on your familiarity with the language. I've personally found it that if you ask me the same question in English and in Hindi, I have to put in a little more effort to understand the Hindi question, whereas I understand the English question like this. Second, how much of grammar do I need to study? Grammar is essential, but don't overdo it. Focus on these topics. Parts of speech, which is called Shabd Bhed. So you should know your parts of speech, that is nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs. You should understand all the 8 parts of speech. You should be able to identify them. Synonyms and antonyms, which is Paryavachi and Vilom Shabd. Prefixes and suffixes, or Upsarg and Pratyay. Any class 6 or 7 school grammar book will give you these topics and you need not do much more than that. For Hindi, also add Sandhi, Samas and Tatsam Tadbhav words. And whichever subject is your L1, whether it's English, Hindi or any other subject, since you will be having a poetry, you must know your figures of speech, which in Hindi is called Alankar. So here's the catch. Even if Hindi is your weaker subject, you can still score well in your comprehension by leveraging the grammar and the comprehension, especially poetry. This is something that I've explained in detail in video 1 and why you should consider your language options strategically. So I'm just repeating myself here because it's a very important point that many students really don't understand English poetry, they don't understand the central theme, they don't understand what we call the bhav, but they do understand Hindi poetry very well. So you can score much more in Hindi poetry than you can in English poetry. This is something you can only find out when you start solving papers, but keep an open mind. But yes, you need to make this choice before you apply for the CTET exam. So practical tips for choosing L1 and L2. Now that you know the structure of the paper, keep these following points in mind. For language teachers, always choose the language that you're teaching as L1 because professionally that is what will look good for you. For non-language teachers, do assess your comfort level and check which is the language that you would like to have as L1 and L2. Choose your L1 and L2 wisely and strategically, and think of considering your weaker subject as L1 because you may be able to score more in that. Remember, the goal is to play to your strengths and minimize your weaknesses. In the next video, I will delve deeper into the comprehension section. Meanwhile, join my free WhatsApp community, the CTET preparation group, and follow me on Instagram at LearnWithSwasti for daily tips and strategies. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that you are updated about videos in the future. Let's crack the CTET together.